Hi gang, Rob here. It is the morning of 27 November 2015 and I've got a knife fresh from the sharpening bench for you guys today. And it's kind of a cool one, I think. This is the Brad Southard Performance Series Tolk. T as in Tom, O-L-K, Tolk. And it is a really cool blade. For a lot of reasons, I think. Let's talk about some of them. First of all, it is a knife of near custom quality. Maybe better than custom quality. Brad has embarked on this project, his performance series, using premium materials and outsourcing some critical operations for volume production, albeit low volume, with modern manufacturing precision. So some machining, some grinding, some heat treating operations are done by other folks besides Brad Southard knives. And then I think it all comes together at Brad's shop and each one of them gets hand fitted and assembled by him. So what is the Tolk? Well, it's very Southard-like, isn't it? A lot of its profile sort of reminds us of the Spyderco Southard Flipper, which is the knife most of us regular folks came to be aware of Brad Southard's work by. So it's got sort of his signature handle shape and his signature blade shape. And it's, you know, it is a sort of normal-ish 2015 knife. It's a flipper with a titanium frame lock, riding on stainless steel ball bearings with a ceramic detent ball. And it's just very well done in almost every way. So let's kind of get into it. The blade is a Southard drop point, fashioned of Carpenter CTS XHP steel. It is flat ground, almost fully. Comes to a very thin dimension behind the edge. I didn't measure it, frankly, except with my digital calipers, digits being fingers. I'm going to say this is 25 thousandths-ish behind the edge. It is wearing a 16-degree secondary bevel by TheApostleP knife service with a super skinny little 19-degree micro. Notice how consistent the width of that edge bevel is from tip to hilt. That tells you the main bevel grind of the knife is very precise. Got a wipe, we've got some prints going on here, don't we? You know, it's pretty bush league to show you guys blade shots of a finger-printed knife. So that blade is 3 7/8 inches long, 3.875. The blade stock is 140 thousandths. Just right, I think. Not ridiculously thick, but still robust enough to be a strong knife in a near 4-inch configuration. The handle's 5 inches long, and it is all titanium, 6AL4V titanium, both sides. A super thin, 460 thousandths thick. Great pocketable knife. Right hand carry only, wah wah for us lefties. Carries pretty deep in pocket. You'll have about that much of the knife showing. Just right to get a hold of it. The pocket clip works well, although there's not a lot of rise in the end of the clip. In jeans, I did find it easy to insert and extract one-handed. The clip, you might say, is very Sebenza-like. That can't be a bad thing. So let's talk first about deployment. How does it flip? Well, as you notice, we have a flipper and we have thumb studs. The flipper is pretty much a light switch flipper, and one thing that's kind of interesting, it's a long handle. It gives you a variety of trouble-free flipping grips. You really don't have to be that careful of the lock bar. I think the detent's absolutely perfect. You can actually come way back on the knife and bury that jimping sort of in the base of your hand with fingers clear back here. You get a long index finger and whack, out she comes. Or you can come more forward on the knife. You almost can't misgrip the knife to flip it. If you're a push buttoner, this is going to be a bit of an uncomfortable flipper tab. There's no jimping on the top, just on the front where you would light switch it. So you're going to sort of be pressing on this corner if you're push buttoning, and that'll wear your finger out pretty quick. It'll flip, but it's just not really, I don't think, meant to do that. I know I need to toughen up, don't I? You know, when I first looked at this, I thought, man, those thumb studs are quite away from the pivot, which it doesn't make them work badly, but I just thought it puts the thumb stud so far out on the blade, it sort of impedes the cutting edge. At least it did before this happened. We'll talk about that very minutely later. But I noticed after flicking it with the thumb stud a few times, there's a reason that stud is back there. Notice where my hand is to get a good purchase on that stud, and watch what happens to the flipper tab. My index finger actually wrapped kind of tightly. No need for the flying index finger to clear the flipper. Your hand gets back here, and the knife comes open with the stud. The flipper tab clears the finger. Beautiful. And there's another flipper characteristic that I hate that this knife doesn't have. A lot of flipper knives, when you go to release the knife, the flipper tab will hit your thumbnail. You move your thumbnail and the knife isn't past the detent ball. On the Southard Tolk, I don't care how far up forward I go on that lock bar. See, the flipper tab did hit my thumb, but I'm already past the ball. No need to regrip. Very well done. Even using for a lefty, pretty darn good. And I love the way that this pivot is tuned. It does not guillotine your fingers, but still very free. A little shaking and it closes on itself, but it stays where you put it too. Couldn't be better. Now, this knife is sort of freshly clean, lubed, and tuned, and I did notice, I don't know, once or twice when I opened it, just the slightest bit of lock stick. There might be a little lube on the face somewhere, but generally none at all. Not sure what treatment Brad did to the lock face, whether he carburized it or carbidized it, but no issues. It locks up at about, 35%, which I think is about, minimal for a good, strong, secure lockup, but that should break in and go over just a bit as the knife ages. Lock bar tension is plenty adequate. There was a little of that stick. Nothing to worry about though. The relief cut in the lock bar is on the outside of the frame. I would call this sort of a medium length lock bar. Could have got longer and more linear tension probably if you moved that back into this area just a little bit. There's plenty of real estate to have been able to do that, but performance-wise, I'm not complaining. There is, of course, absolutely zero blade play in any direction, just really well done. Blade centering is absolute perfection, and it better be. Look at the tight fit between blade and handle, which, you know, obviously is a function, or the thinness in pocket is partially a function of that. Didn't waste any space at all. Oh, did I tell you how much it weighs? Remember, nearly 4 inches long, 3 7/8 inches O blade, 4.3 ounces. Yeah. Huh. I believe that's, what? 3/4 of an ounce less than a Sebenza with a longer blade. Just a very, very light and agile knife. Perfect balance point right in the finger groove. Perfection. Let's talk about ergonomics, shall we? Now, I will say this. My first impression of this handle when I started messing around with it, preparing for this review, I thought, you know, the corners are a little sharp. Got some hot spots, but I don't know, the more my hand gets used to it, the less a factor that stuff is. So in the saber grip, I'm finding it pretty doggone comfortable. And the draw cut grip, really good. Flipper tab is not causing me any issues whatsoever. And the hammer grip, really good. Can't even tell there's a clip on the knife. And in that reverse tactical grip, it is super good. The angle of the butt of that handle is perfect for the thumb, and the jimping bites perfectly. It's just great. The jimping on the spine of the blade is, frankly, a little forward for the standard saber grip on this knife. Your thumb's going to land right on this back section. Now, if you guys watched the one video that I posted yesterday, actually very late last night, you'll notice that that finger choil is not factory. I did that for a couple reasons. Number one, I think the design of the knife lends itself to a forward grip because that run of jimping on the spine is so long. There's plenty left if you want to come up for fine power and precision work, and that grip is like a bank vault. Really, really good and comfortable. And also you'll notice that, and this choil was about half the size that you see. So obviously it didn't clear the plunge grind, and we were going to have some sharpening issues. No problem. We just fixed it. It made the knife better than it was originally. And Brad, if you're watching, you might want to do a second run of these. Just like that. Thought it came out pretty well. In addition to its ball bearings and ceramic detent ball, steel ball bearings, ceramic detent ball, we've also got a titanium over travel stop. The pivot, if I didn't mention it, it is stainless steel, and then there is a purple anodized titanium ring, trim ring around the male side of the pivot. Very nice. Check out these thumb studs too, guys. They didn't just mail it in. Those are nice. And I've never seen anything quite like them. And they work really well. Your thumb really bites into them with no discomfort. There is just not a lot I don't like about this knife, except for its right-handedness. So I don't know who's doing the work for Brad on these knives, but they're doing it really well. Really, really well. I love the blade shape. I love the knife in hand, much more than I did when I first picked it up. As someone who favors sharpenability and cutting performance in a knife, as I do, Other than that one little issue we corrected, this blade is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Shall we see if it cuts? It is from the sharpening bench video. I'm pretty sure it does. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, we could do this all day, can we? Man, I kind of like this. This belongs to my customer, Scott, and I think I've got around 20 of his knives in, and some of them are pretty cool. So it won't be the last one of his that we see over the next week or two. I just love it when that happens. These are, I believe, still available. Blade HQ has some. I think you can buy them directly from Brad's site. Who knows when you guys watch this video whether they will still be, but I'm sure they will be a darling on the secondary markets. I kind of think they're going to be expensive. If I didn't mention it before, they retail for $4.95, I believe. And frankly, I think they're worth it. So that is our look at the Brad Southard Performance Series Tolk. Hope you liked it. Hope you had a good Thanksgiving. That is all for this one. Grace to you and peace, my friends, from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. And remember, the Word and Scott's Tolk are sharp.